I've had the benefit of being able to work with a number of developers now, and it's not just one kind of developer. It's there's been a developer that I've worked with who's a local developer that's been here for decades, and there's another developer I've worked with that is from Beijing, and it was a really great experience to work with both of them, especially in our current climate where in the wake of the housing crisis, there was a lot of news articles and politicians blaming offshore money for the state of the housing crisis. And seeing how the developers operate, it became clear to me that it doesn't matter where the money is coming from. It's but what the money is doing and how the money can operate within our system. So the example that I've been giving is that it doesn't matter that the money came from Beijing. The money, is investing in a property, is buying land this year. And if you buy land this year, you're buying it at the peak of its value, which means that if you want to turn a profit on that land, you have to bend yourself over backwards and cut corners to try to sell units at a price where you'll still make a profit. Whereas if you owned the property for 30 years, you didn't buy it at the peak of its value, you bought it way under inflation, and you've got a much better chance at turning a profit. And so when we experienced the housing crisis, as we did, people weren't sure how much it was going to inflate. And they were hoping, I think, as every capitalist does, love to dream about, unending growth.
It's never going to stop.
It's never going to stop. So people bought at a high price. And then, as you actually commented before we started filming, that a lot of projects are getting canceled. And that's because people were paying out the nose for this land, regardless, again, of where the money came from, thinking it had value that could be converted. And then the value overextended people's purchasing power. And then all that needs to happen at that point is for money that is coming from elsewhere to start drying up. And then all of a sudden you've got a situation where it's an unsustainable market. So that all goes to say that every developer is kind of trying to do the same thing, which is make a profit. And I commented on this kind of at the beginning, which is to say that I think the solution to housing isn't a profit-driven exercise. It's the government has to be more involved. And because of that, I do not blame offshore development. I don't think it's the problem. I think it's the system.
Did you think it was before? Have your views changed?
I wouldn't say I thought it was before, but I didn't really understand what was going on until I was kind of in the thick of it. I had unfortunately bought, my wife and I bought a mortgage for an apartment around the peak of the housing crisis, just by the nature of where we were in our lives at the time, and that our lease expired, and we were sick of we didn't want to deal with landlords anymore.
We didn't want to pay someone else's mortgage.
Yeah, so we basically pooled every last cent we had and put 20% down on a place to avoid the kind of rent eviction things that were going on at the time. Sorry, I got off a little off track.
No, I want to know now, do you regret that at all?
Oh, no, I don't regret.
Okay.
No. Although I will say that the value of our unit has gone down since we bought it by maybe 5 to 10%.
Do you care?
No, don't care at all.
Why don't you care?
I don't care because the value of all the neighboring properties has also gone down by 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
So really, if we want to move, it's all relative.
Yeah.
When we sell, because of where we are, we're in Gastown, as it turns out, that the value of the Gastown apartments compared to the value of apartments in adjacent neighborhoods, they're close enough or at a good decent exchange that it'll be okay. It's only really it's only really kind of a question if you're only looking at it in terms of profit, and if you're willing to, like, say, move from downtown to suburbia and make a huge windfall, that you might be more concerned about it dipping. But we just really wanted to be in, and we picked a place that we thought we could make work for a long time. And even though the market has plateaued, it seems that it always trends upwards. It's just not always really fast.
Yeah, and you're in it to live in it. You're not in it to flip it. And does it feel better knowing that it's yours and that you've been able to make some changes to it?
You've been in there, so I'm very particular about the design of the apartment, and
Mhm.
so it was a thrill to move from a furnished rental to an unfurnished owned apartment
Mm.
where we could, at, like all at once, pick all the furniture, pick all of the shelving, detail it all to match.
Yeah.
It's like an architect's dream, So I'm just putting up the finishing touches now, and once I've got the apartment just the way that I think would make for a great place for any young family to grow up in their starter home,
Mhm.
then I'll post it on my website, jamesavbly.com. And
Sorry, what was that?
jamesavbly.com. And then people can check it out. And I'm doing one more for my parents that will be on my website as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you can invite us over for a Vancouver Real Estate Today tour.
Yeah, that'd
and
be
do
great.
our next
yeah.
installment of.
Yeah, we
What-
can maybe talk a little bit about. They're both kind of, particularly the one I helped with my parents.
Yeah.
Helped my parents with is inspired by West Coast modernism.
You're
And-
saying.
And just to give you the quick soundbite for that is, I designed it based on the West Coast modern style,
Mm-hmm.
but the West Coast modern style at the time was done as a reaction to the conditions. It was a inexpensive method of building, and to do those details now, it's surprisingly expensive.
Really?
So yes, because, and again, I'll give you a little bit more, is to say that, for example, the cost of labor continues to go up.
Oh yeah.
And so it's not even that before, what made West Coast modernism so attractive was that materials were cheap. We made building out of wood,
Mm.
heavy timber was more easy to come by as well.
Mhm.
And labor was less expensive.
Right.
Now labor is really expensive. So that's why IKEA is popular, because you cut out all the labor.
That's true.
You're the labor.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like how the supermarket got popular. The original markets, you would fill out a list and the grocer would go pile it up for you and give it to you.
Hmm.
And then the super market was that you would do the labor of collecting all your own groceries. Yeah, so it's kind of like that in architecture now, where you're trying to find things that are automated,
Yeah.
built by a computer, built by
Right.
robots, or built by you, and built with lightweight, resilient materials. And while that all sounds great, it tends to make most of the apartments look the same.
Mm. Yeah.
And for an architect
Cookie cutter.
who really believes in place and meaning, like objects having an embedded meaning that are important to you as an
Mhm.
individual, that reflect your lifestyle. I find it frustrating that so many apartments look so similar. Does that mean that we're all identical?
Mhm.
I mean, I certainly it would be nice to give people a sense of an individual freedom.
This is why I like going to architects' places, especially when they've renovated them, because they're always done really well. I was in one recently by a fellow who's moving to Victoria, and I just went, okay, you did a good job. Yeah, you can have that extra 30 grand, I think. Like, people will pay for this higher level.
Yeah, well, we should do a debrief whenever I sell out my apartment. I'll tell
There you
if
go.
people saw the value or if it was a complete waste of time.
But that's not going to be for a little while.
No, not for quite a while.
Well, always a fascinating discussion with you, James. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we take off here? It's getting a little chilly.
JamesAVBly.com. That's all right. I think that's good. I think
Yeah.
we've done a lot.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to doing it again. Thanks
Yeah,
for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And okay, that's a wrap.
Vancouver Real Estate Today explores the art of living through genuine storytelling and localized expertise. If you enjoy what we do here, do us a favor and write us a review, and visit us at vancouverrealestatetoday.ca and discover the home that lets you express and live who you are.